A hospice in the Washington, D.C. suburb of Rockville, Maryland is piloting a program that takes spiritual assessment to a new level. And by involving all team members in the spiritual assessment process, even the team meetings at Montgomery Hospice have a different feel.
This is the portion of the meeting we'll discuss new admissions. Our first patient to discuss would be Herbert Netchin, 89-year-old man with lung cancer. Avis?
Thank you. Dr. Netchin is a very educated man, and education is important to him. He has a PhD and has worked in psychoanalysis, and so he was very thoughtful about how he's thinking about this time in his life.
We used to introduce patients, new patients, by having the nurse talk about their disease, their symptoms, and what was going to be done to manage those symptoms. We've changed, and we've changed because human beings are not diseases. They are not a constellation of symptoms. They're people with hopes and aspirations and dreams and regrets. And so we want our staff to understand that this is a whole person.
Hello, Dr. Netchin. It's good to see you. How are you today?
We now have the chaplain introduce new patients. And it's the chaplain because the chaplain is the person that asks the question, what gives your life meaning now?
I really feel that I am a spiritual person, by which I mean a person who is compassionate, who is interested in other people, who is interested in himself and what I do and with whom I do it. I do not view myself as being religious.
But for me, spirituality also kind of includes that sense of what makes us feel connected to other people.
That's right. As people get older, though they have not been practicing religious people, but as they get older, they go back to the church or to the synagogue, or you know, they become more religious.
Everyone derives meaning from something, and everyone has a belief system. It may not be religious, and it may not even be what you would consider to be spiritual, but they believe in something that gets them up every day and keeps them going, particularly at the end of life. We think about spirituality in the broad sense, not in the narrow sense, and that means that everybody, regardless of their faith tradition and regardless of their beliefs, is appropriate for spiritual care from our perspective.
From what you saw about this Montgomery hospice approach to spiritual care and identification, what struck you most?
The relationships and the fact that you had a very professional staff that was very connected with the patients. And I think the ability to hold one's own professional identity and to be open to the possibilities of the patient telling you their story, telling you what is important to them, and seeing that respect is so important to me, and the voices that were there.
Betty, is that groundbreaking stuff?
I think it's essential, and I think it's wonderful, and I wish that all healthcare providers would take that approach.
They don't.
I think that in many healthcare settings, people are apprehensive, professionals are apprehensive because they think this is something beyond their domain, and and so there's been a lot of good work with Christina Puhasky, who's doing a lot of work to train physicians, and we're really making efforts to do this, but to really listen and respect and allow people to share their beliefs and what's important to them, and taking the time to do that. And the other thing that struck me about this was that it's integrated, it's expected, and it's addressed at the team meetings, and that's wonderful, and that may or may not always be done.
One of the things we've learned is that one size does not fit all. These moving vignettes have shown us that if spirituality is about finding and holding on to meaning and creating transcendent connections and holding on to those, there's an infinite variety of ways that we find meaning and create and maintain connections, and it's our task to try and find out what will work for our patients to gentle their journey in their way.